Hey, my friend, how are you? Welcome. So give me a thumbs up in the comments if you can hear me. Let me know where you're tuning in from and how excited you are for today's training, 5 ways to compose the figure. If you're looking to get better at painting, this training is for you. Okay, my sound is good. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to keep on going because we have a lot to cover today. So I just wanted to say hi there. I'm in New York and it's pretty chilly here today, actually. All right, so let's get started. Creating a successful artwork always starts with the composition. So I wanted to share with you 5 ways to compose the figure. And I'll be sharing some examples from both my art as well as art history and contemporary artists. So you'll leave today totally inspired. Okay, so the first one is the reclining nude. Okay, so this is my watercolor. You can sort of get away with a little nudity on social media, but sometimes not really. So we'll see what happens with this live stream. And the first artist that I want to share with you today is Alice Neel. So she has a humongous exhibit right now at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's one of those blockbuster exhibitions where you go from gallery to gallery to gallery, and there is a line out the door. I was one of the first people to see it because I did renew my membership this year, and I went there the day it opened. It did not disappoint. So Alice Neel was born in 1900, and I don't remember when she died. I think it was like in the 1980s. So her artwork is a little bit reminiscent of Van Gogh. If you ever looked at Van Gogh's artwork, the way she outlines things with like red and blue, and then she has some other influences in her art as well. But some of her best work are these nudes of pregnant women, which is why I wanted to share them with you today. This also takes inspiration from Titian's Venus of Urbino. You can see a similar pose here. And the next composition that I love is the back. I always find that subtle nudity tends to sell really well. So if you want to paint nudes that sell, once we're venturing out into post-COVID world, hopefully soon, if you go to a life drawing class, I always like to move my seat where I'm going to be sketching to the back of the figure because these are always the money shots for me. I always sell out of nudes that are drawn or painted from the back. This, of course, is my watercolor. Okay, and here are some other examples. So this is John August Ang, Grand Odalisque. This one actually also hangs in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And here's a wonderful artist I want to share with you, very contemporary. I probably will screw up the name, but I really want to make sure I pull in some non-Western artists other than just the white old guys. So this is Hav Kamraman, called The Toilet from 2008. I think it's really, really cool. And you can see how it's very similar to Ang's Odalisque. So we'll just flip back to this. You see this very similar type of pose. I love the way she's looking in the mirror and you actually see her face only in the mirror. It's really cool. Okay, next is what I call the Adam pose, which takes inspiration from Michelangelo's creation of Adam. I love posing the figure this way. It is a beautiful way to show the male body, and I love the different movement of having the knee up and the leg outstretched, the arm outstretched. I want to show you some other examples of artists who have used similar poses. This is by Micheline Thomas. So it's not a fully nude figure, but the pose is the same. So this is a really, really beautiful artist who does collage work. And if you go back to one of my previous episodes, I believe I featured her in Black Figurative Artists You Should Know, as well as Women Portrait Artists You Should Know. So she's a fantastic artist using this collage art. Really great contemporary artist. Next is the Bather. So again, I'm sharing with you first my watercolor art of a nude. And then I want to share with you some examples from contemporary and art history. So here is John August Ang. Once again, this is a very famous painting called The Bather. And I actually have a second watercolor nude, which is even more similar to this pose than the one previous. But I want to, a bathing picture is extremely popular. Here is one that I totally adore by Carrie James Marshall called Pink Towel. And Carrie James Marshall also recently had a blockbuster exhibition at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I don't believe it was actually on the Fifth Avenue, but the Met bought a second building in New York City where the Whitney used to be before they moved downtown. And he had a blockbuster show there, which is very unusual. It's very unusual for a living artist to have a show put on by the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Okay, and this is our fifth and final pose. This is the standing pose. Again, I do prefer it from the back. This is my watercolor nude. This is also shown from the back. Of course, this is a sculpture, so you get to see it in 3 dimensions, but I just love this pose, and you can see how closely I modeled my watercolor to this pose. What I want you to notice is how one leg is straight, the other is bent, one arm is down, the other is bent. All this adds dynamism to the pose. And ladies, if you're posing for a photograph, keep some of these things in mind, because all these poses that make your art look better also make you look better if you're posing for a photograph. So just keep that in mind. Okay, and here is another great example from art history. This one's by Paul Cézanne, The Bathers. All right, so if you're inspired to include the figure in your art, I've got a freebie to help you. It reviews all the things we talked about today, and it's a guide for composing the figure. So if you want to get your hands on it, just comment below. I would love to see a little bit of love inside the comments. If you're enjoying this so far, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart. I know we have a couple dozen people watching today, but you've been kind of quiet. So just share something in the comments. Let me know if you want to have it. I won't wait here too long just because I know there's a delay between when I ask a question and when there we go. Now I start to see the answer. So Janet says she wants it. A couple other people are posting they want it. And you may be watching, by the way, in a different place. There's YouTube, Facebook group. Okay, great. Give me a heart. Give me a thumbs up. I see a couple of other people want it too. I will move on to the next slide. I won't keep you in suspense anymore. All right, so to get the 5 best poses for composing the figure cheat sheet, go to schulmanart.com/compose to get your hands on it. And Anna is just going to put that link in the chat right now. So those of you, you don't have to bother typing it in, worrying about spelling my name right. You can just click on her link, go over there and get it. And we're pretty much done, by the way. But if you have any questions, now is the time to enter it in. I'm going to have time for a few questions before I hop off. Okay, let me go ahead to the next slide. Okay, whoops. Oh, I thought there was a question. There we go. Okay, so I had time for a few questions or takeaways. So either in the chat below, just put in your question, or if you want to, I would love to say my greatest takeaway was, and let me know. I'd love to give you a little shout out here. We have time for a few questions, and then I will move ahead. Okay, so a lot of people say that they want to get it. Thanks for tuning in, Deborah. Thanks for tuning in, Lynn. Thanks, Marie, for joining us here today. I'm so excited. Okay. All right. So we don't have any questions. Okay. So it looks like we're going to move on. I'm just going to take one more peek, make sure I don't miss out on anybody. Okay. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for tuning in here today. Let me just go on to the next slide. All right. And if I see your question, don't worry, if I see your question before we log off completely, I'll get it. Thank you so much for tuning in here today. I was so happy to talk to you, and I hope you found it super valuable. If you did, just share this with somebody you know, tag a friend underneath in the comments, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody.